So here we are. So what I'm saying here is based on quite a very lengthy tenure of supervision back in South Africa with Dr. Gordon Isaacs. He's an incredible man, a lecturer in SACAP, and 50 years of experience. He's almost in his 80s now. And his specialization is trauma and gender-based violence. And I really gained a lot from him. One of the things I gained is what I'd like to share that many of you may have come across as challenging or not, but that is when you have a client that either disclosed that he or she have experienced trauma, or they put it in the intake form or in the intake phone call, or you're getting a feeling that there's something going on that you're not that they're not disclosing. Right. And many times it's very hard for clients, either consciously or subconsciously, to be able to dig in and look into their memories of trauma. That is either because of dissociative disorders like dissociative amnesia, which is defined in the DSM-5 as an inability to recall important personal information, usually of traumatic or stressful nature, that is too extensive to be able to bear. So what the brain does is, you all know this, but just so I can build up as to what I'm about to share, that when takes place, so the dissociation, what it really does is it excludes the traumatic experience from the person by forming compartments in the mind, compartments in the brain. And that mentalizes the mind. And so it keeps you well and safe by taking the memory and really having a resolve to put it aside. And theoretically, it could be good, but the problem is that it intrudes our mind and it creates flashbacks and guilt and confusion. And I had more than one client, which I'll share more than one case today about, that I used this technique from Dr. Gordon Isaacs to be able to take out the trauma. So before I share that, I'd like to also share what I saw, what I found in this very amazing book called Coping with Trauma by John Allen. And he says that detachment, which is one of the dissociative disorders, actually is something that comes along a spectrum. And he says that the phases for detachment of memory or of oneself from one's traumatic events and painful memories has about 4 levels: alert, absorption, depersonalization and derealization, and unresponsiveness. So he says the alert phase is that you're fully alert. Not only are you alert to the outside world and what is going on the outside, but you're also alert to what is going on the inside. And that actually means that there's a relationship between the outside world and the inside, what you're experiencing on the in and on the out. The second phase is the absorption, that you're taking everything in, which sounds good, but it also can be a problem because sometimes you may also relate to this, that in order to run away from your reality, you'll the client may focus into something excessively, such as excessive movies or gambling or something that's too extreme that takes them away from being able to look at and hold their feelings of the traumatic experience. And then, of course, negative consequences will surface from that. And then depersonalization and derealization. Also, the depersonalization would be that you're feeling disconnected from yourself. Either a person may feel that they're in a dream or in a play or in some shady kind of thing about themselves. They're not themselves. And derealization, that they feel that the world is those things. The world is like an outside world. It's a fake world. It's a different world. It's a black world. And so it's very hard for them to tap into those memories that they once had. And you can see that in conversations with them. And what I like to do is with clients, based on the guidance I received from the supervisor of mine, is I like to tell them in the onset of therapy, I say, we're about to take the first couple of sessions just so we can also begin addressing the issues that you have come in and presented yourselves with, but also so that we can get to know each other a little bit better. I'd like to know you a little bit better, and I'd like to take what I call a psychosocial developmental history of yourself. And it may take a few sessions, and I may ask questions that may seem a little bit personal. If you're uncomfortable answering, it's fine. But if you're okay answering these questions, I think they're very important for us to be able to get to know a little bit of your background and just be able to understand and conceptualize what it is we're looking at and who you really are today. And so one of the things I may ask is, can you tell me about an early childhood friend that you had, maybe when you were about 5 or 6 years old? What's your earliest experience that you remember? And it'll give me an age, let's say 5 or 6 or 7. Say, well, what was your best friend's name? Oh, Sarah. Okay, wow. And were you neighbors? Can you tell me about that, and tell me about how you used to play, and what were the games that you played? So we're taking the client back to perhaps a stage or a phase before the dissociation, before the break, before the confusion in memory. And then we get them to just talk about that a little bit more. And yes, and tell me how that was like, and what was the toys that you used to play with, and did you share anything? And why don't you tell me about, first and second grade, who was your friend, who was your teacher, and Lamora's name, and what was it like going to school, and what was it like sitting at home at the Shabbat table, what were the values in your home? And you speak about friends, you speak about things, and then this is where it starts. You say, do you remember anything that may have happened to you, like hurt you? Maybe have you ever fallen off a bicycle? Did you ever get a scratch? Was there ever anything that really hurt you? Maybe there was a car accident or falling off a ladder or anything of that nature that happened. And they may say yes or no, but it starts triggering. It starts opening up parts of their cognition that have to do with pain, unresolved pain, unspoken trauma, and slowly. Sometimes it's too big for them and they'll just say no. But what I've seen is that they'll say, yes, no. I do remember, I don't remember. They kind of go back and forth. They're waving in and out of the traumatic experience, and it's unbelievable. And then you can maybe ask, any hitting from your mom, any hitting from your dad, anyone that was maybe, any bullying in school? Again, trying to look at maybe painful parts of the cognition, of the memory. And then what happened with one client, this was a 55-year-old woman. She started crying. She just burst into tears. And after really processing that and being there and with her quietly, of course, then she still didn't share it right away. And I just gave it some time and then started saying, maybe you want to speak about that. And she says, my brothers. And then slowly again, but that was a way to tap in to part of that memory that was under the surface for probably over 40 odd years. And that wasn't the only client, but that is one of the techniques that enabled me and probably may be very helpful for yourselves to be able to tap into those parts of the cognition. So you start with general memories, maybe a question about general pain, something insignificant, and then you try to build it up a little bit more, and then they open up. Obviously, it's not recommended in the first or second session, but once developing rapport and the therapeutic alliance and the relationship is a little bit more nurturing, then you're able to get into that. And I hope you enjoy.